Zinzino has to offer, or primarily what our health issues are that do to mitigate. So without further ado, you already know me. My name is Michael Low. I am the principal of Shante Sanctuary, a functional medicine clinic in Kuala Lumpur. We are located just a couple of plots of properties away from Glen Eagles Hospital on Jalan Ampang. Okay, please by all means come and visit us. Out of this particular call, by the end of this evening, you'll be able to understand what we have to offer in as far as the solutions to better manage your chronic conditions out in today's lifestyle. From a clinic perspective, we also extend a free assessment to the business partners as well as the prospect customers to have your arterial health and stress index assessed for absolutely free in the clinic. Okay, it's a 400 ringgit assessment, but we're making it available to all participants of this evening's talk. So you're able to come, and what does it do? It actually looks at your inflamed arteries within your system. So that is a underlining telltale sign of the state of inflammation within your health. Okay, so it's a very simple assessment. It's on just about 3 to 5 minutes. It's totally painless. It clips onto your finger, and it assesses through heart rate variability, where it measures your response rate to recovery. So indirectly, it looks at inflammation of your entire system. So moving on, this evening, we're here to share with you Zinzino's great secrets, and their mission is to inspire change in life. And it is truly the case, because the solutions that they have does indeed help to inspire change in life, right? It has a fantastic, I call it a unicorn company solution, where it helps everyone to better understand the state of well-being, or the other side, not being well, and then over a period of time, how you can recover from your ill health through a very simple protocol, which we'll share with you this evening. All right. So the team that we are is the Dream Team, is the Zinzino Dream Team that we put together. It's a whole bunch of us trying to strive towards putting more life into people's years of living, rather than just putting more years to make you live longer but no quality. No, that's not our mission. Our mission is to put more life into the years of your life, if you may. So meaning to say that we give you more vitality in your life. And we believe that Zinzino has the solution to reach that goal. Yeah. So I guess I'm going to start off in talking about this massive confusion that we all have in our daily, if not monthly, if not annually, how to put the puzzle together to reach an optimum health, right? Most of us are one way or the other not perfect. One way or the other, we will suffer a little bit of a degenerative condition, like aching bodies, indigestive system, sleep deprivation means you don't sleep that very well. You don't have quality sleep. Some of us will have fogginess in our brains. Some of us will have digestive system issues, and so on and so forth. And it has been a challenge for a lot of people that we know over the recent years, how to piece together this massive puzzle in getting achieving an optimum health, right? A lot of people are confused. What's the right food to eat? What is the balanced food to eat? The mindset, the fitness, what kind of fitness to do, what kind of diet, what kind of fasting, and they're stressed. They don't know how to find a solution towards stress. So there is constant puzzle about how to live at an optimum health status. So being healthy is always not so very easy, but I believe, having been in the healthcare business for almost 20 years now, that finally there is a solution for us to overcome the confusion that we all face. Okay, so to start off with, I'd like to talk a little bit about our lifestyle. Okay, now omega-6 and omega-3 essential fatty acids is a critical essential fatty acids that we cannot produce. We have to consume this. We have to, from an external source, consume it by way of eating it and by way of replenishing it into our system, right? So in the World Health Organization, the perfect ratio for omega-6 to omega-3 should be 3:1, all right? Or better for that matter. A young infant will be 1:1. World Health Organization is in hope that the world, which is not, 97% of people out in the world population is out of balance, okay? And this slide here aims at telling you, sharing with you where people are at this moment in time. So ideally is 3:1. Now, how do we achieve it? What's the cost of it? Now, as we all know, the dairy farm or the food produced that we have in the past has always been grass grazing in the bewildered hills and all in the past, right? So here you have a cow that is grass grazing in the nature out in the open. But the reality is these days, our meat source is all primarily farmed, right? So we know that they are given a lot of antibiotics, they're given a lot of animal feeds. Most of these feeds are laced with soy and also corn. These two substances are the most, or if not the highest, omega-6 content within it. So these animals are feeding on this kind of feed, and look at their unhealthy lifestyle, right? So our food source has actually been compromised for the last 50, 60 years, as we all know already. And this is, I'm showing cattle, our beef, but of course, most of the animal, chicken are the same, fish are the same these days, and they're all given animal feed, right? So we do not get the kind of healthy food source anymore for the last 30 to 50 years, right? So ideally at home, we all want to think about, I want to eat healthy. So family wants to sit down and eat, healthy salad, natural, wild caught fish, free range chicken, and so on and so forth. Ideally, am I right? This is something we strive towards. We all aim towards wanting to have this beautiful dinner that we have every day in our weeks at home with our family. All natural, organic, free range kind of food supply. But in reality, that is not the case. In reality, most of us, when we work outside, we end up meeting friends after work and eating this kind of diet. So this kind of diet is just full of very bad oil. They are all processed food. And of course, some of it on the table there is fast food, and it's never what we had imagined it to be. And that has actually driven our ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 to 15:1 by average, if not higher, all right? In Asia here, recent months that we just started in Malaysia, we've been seeing quite a fair bit of shocking numbers. We're seeing averaging people at 20-25:1 ratio. So 20-25 omega-6 and omega-3 is just one unit, if you may. So this is a very out of balance. And we've seen people that is 60, 100:1 in this part of the world, which is very, very shocking. And omega-6 is primarily the bad omega when you overload it. Now, there is good value in omega-6, which I'll share with you in a moment later. But too much of omega-6 actually drives this out of balance state of condition in our health, right? You will see here that most of us across the world is not that far away from one another, right? And Asia and also in America and all this are actually quite shocking in terms of the out of proportion ratio. Okay, so in conclusion, fundamentally we lack key nutrients, and therefore resulting in this case here reduction in the brain function that a lot of us are suffering these days. We feel foggy, we our mental brain functions are compromised in the sense that we don't remember very well. Our memories are depleting, and as you see, older people have so dementia, Alzheimer's, and so on and so forth, right? Hair quality has actually compromised as well. So people are losing hair a lot younger, people are balding, and ladies are seeing their hair is thinning a lot more earlier age. Heart functions is also compromised. Heart is one major disease that we all see in this world. Skin loses its elasticity, so people are not so supple, if you may, in their outlook. So that's also one of the issues. Organ functions are also being compromised. So that gives a lot of chronic diseases that we'll discuss in a moment. All right, and muscular and skeletal, i.e. joints degeneration is also a challenge of this sort of lifestyle that we face. And primarily it comes from being out of balance between your omega-6 and omega-3. And that causes the underlying problems of what we know as inflammation. Now, inflammation in our system means it's the swelling of our cells from the cellular level, because the membrane, the cell membrane of the walls are not soft and not turgid enough to allow good nutrients to go in. And furthermore, the most important critical point is the toxicity within the cells are unable to be discharged and to be cleansed out. And that causes this inflammatory state of being from the cell level that causes then, as a result, the underlying impact to chronic diseases, right? Now, inflammation, later you'll realize that it's actually a good thing. Inflammation is allowing our body to heal, to repair itself. The German doctors that we work with likes to see some form of fever or inflammation, because that's the indication of repair in our body. But prolonged inflammation is actually not good, okay? So that's something that we need to be conscious of. So inflammation is an impact to our immune system. NCD, the non-communicable diseases, is abundance these days. You see people with cardiovascular problems, chronic respiratory concerns, diabetes, cancer is one. Remember, we talked about inflammation just now. Inflammation causes the immune system to be compromised, and immune system being compromised is basically taking your defense system down, allowing a evolution of good cells to bad tumor cells to basically attack your body, right? So these are the underlying causes of it. The drop in your defense, which is your immune system, causes or allowing cancer cells to mutate into a serious life-threatening issues, right? Now, these are primarily because we have unhealthy eating lifestyles, we have excess alcohol, but then that's not really fundamentally the reason. The worldwide alcohol intake has increased, but it's not a majority challenge, because religiously there are some forbidden practices that not that everyone consumes alcohol. Physical inactivity, that's a given. We exercise a lot lesser. I will share with you in a little while how these numbers are threatening Malaysia. Tobacco use, and now even worse, they have now moved from actual tobacco cigarettes into vaping. I recently discovered how this vaping industry has actually gone ballistic, and how Philip Morris has actually now moved away from actual tobacco smoking cigarettes into vaping business, and that's a multiple billion-dollar trillion industry. Okay, that's actually quite scary, to say the least, right? So public health system has overwhelmingly been neglecting us, right? There are now lack of awareness in how to better communicate. If you notice from just out of this COVID pandemic recently, I think what the healthcare system for most countries are actually failing is because they are not communicating the actual better practice, if you may. They are just talking about washing your hands, wearing masks. But the fundamental, if you understand the solution to overcome this chronic, or sorry, not chronic, this pandemic issue with COVID is actually fortifying your immune system. So somewhere along the line, this healthcare system has failed every nation in the world by neglecting awareness communication. So the educational processes, the efforts are actually not doing its job for everyone's best interest. So education is actually not so very good. And also, of course, this pharma driven, everything is going towards drugs. And drugs, as you know, is dealing with symptom and not dealing with systemic problems. So drugs, pharma companies are actually a part of the culprit, and they are all symptom-oriented kind of solutions, right? So they don't get down to the root cause of the problem. So current state of public health in Malaysia is actually awful. We have been declining in Malaysia embarrassingly compared to even our neighboring developing countries like Myanmar and Vietnam that I saw the last few years, that they have been actually deploying a lot of better solutions to empower the nation. And here Malaysia, supposedly to be a very advanced country with all technology and education within the country, but shamefully, we are really not advancing in the healthcare support system within the country. So that's public health failing the nation, right? So, you know, we're really not doing a lot in Malaysia to help people within the country. So that's Malaysia failing the country as well, the nation, right? So I want to talk about the nutritional status here in Malaysia. If you look at the abnormal body weight amongst adults, in 2011, there's 29%, and 2019 is 30%. Look at the abnormal obesity level within the country, within this under 10 years, from 45% to 52%. There are a massive amount of people here in Malaysia that is obese, meaning to say they're overweight compared to neighboring countries. It's actually quite embarrassing. I don't know about what you think, but I feel that, you know, Malaysians, by comparison, you can actually tell between a Singaporean, Malaysian, and a Thai, or even an Indonesian. Whenever you see someone in the airport, you can more or less point your finger down at someone that's very likely a Malaysian, because they all look overweight in that sense. Now, 29.9, 30% of women in the reproductive stage are anemic, meaning to say they are weaker than ever before, right? And that's very sad. It's got to do with nutritional negligence in our lifestyle here in Malaysia, simply because we don't understand, B, we actually don't know how to live anymore, right? So in 30, 40 years ago, since then, there are a lot of propaganda in the media environment that tells us what to eat. And if you look at, you know, if you think about what you want to eat tonight, all you have to do is to launch your Facebook or launch whatever social media platform. You find that there's so many advertisements to tell you to eat everything that is so delicious and so fast and so cheap and so readily available, but they're all of a not so healthy food kind of a regime, right? I'm sure you will agree with me on that. So that's very, very sad, actually. So, and more so in Malaysia like this, because also of the educational level, the level of understanding what is a good diet compared to what is a cheap fast food that is made available to us. So this is the kind of a Malaysian health issues that we're facing. So our children, you look at what happens to our children right now. Children, 30%, children aged between 5 to 7 have some abnormal body weight. 15% of the kids are overweight, and 14, closing to 15%, are obese. How dreadful can that be, right? So they're closing to 21 or 22% in this case here, children under the age of 5 are stunted. Why? Because of the food that we feed them. Every parent somehow, one way or the other, takes our children towards the fast food, and they all think that this is a fun thing that all kids should be enjoying. So it's a part of a privilege of young children. So no wonder we can actually now start to see these kind of issues that we have. Look at what's happening. Children of age of 13, about 9% of the population of age 13 and above reported suffering from chronic body pain. 13 years old, starting to have body pain, right? They're aching all over. Remember the inflammation state of being in our body? They start at that age, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, right? And amongst them, 31% reported that their daily activities were moderate to extremely disrupted. So meaning to say, people are now saying, I can't function. So there's 33% or maybe a little bit more, 35% of people say, I'm not going to go to school. I'm not going to go to some social activities because I am just not feeling well enough. And that's really, really a major problem for the population, because it actually actually impacts on not just the health, but also the productivity of the country, right? So we are actually very, very sad that we are actually failing as a species, if you may, right? Human being, we could be in a state right now that we almost run out of healthy food. We have to produce food. Just like the other day, I was in the supermarket and I realized that, my God, now they have Beyond Beef, Beyond a burger, that they are now lab-grown meat, human-produced kind of solutions. How sad can that be? And it's actually very disturbing for me when I look at how our children, our future is going to be like. The world ran out of food, that people has to produce food to feed people. Farm has to be produce science kind of a feeds for animals so that they can grow within a confined space at a much faster speed. So by that virtue, you can half imagine the kind of impact that we have. And it's just not about impacting our health with excessive omega-6 in this case here, but it's also the spin-off of this inflammatory state in our health that is causing a lot of after side effect was the chronic diseases, and one of which, as you can also gather from our friends out there, is our memory is actually one of the bigger, newer state of unwell, right? Here in the clinic, we start to see people, mental stress, if not mental health issues are prevailing at the moment. And we see a lot more people having a lot of mental memory kind of issues that they're facing, right? So why is all this happening? And primarily, we're eating too much sugar and refined carbohydrates. That's what I was talking about just now. Excessive omega-6 fatty acids. Now, this is basically the kind of oil that we have. And I particularly see if anything has a package in there and has an expiry date, that's going to be laced with a lot of omega-6. And that's never healthy. So, but we consume it all the time. And we're not getting the right omega oil into us, because most of the food that is produced, farm, or in this case here, cultivated, are all with a much reduced omega-3 availability within the food. So in the food substance that we're getting, we're not getting enough omega-3, we're getting too much omega-6, hence that fast track and speed up this total imbalance in our health, right? And of course, how many of us actually take polyphenol? Polyphenol is a extra virgin oil extract from pre-harvested olive. Now, we talk a little bit about that later. To me, why Zinzino, this company that I'm introducing to you this evening, is all about is because they have ingeniously combined polyphenol and omega-3, and polyphenol is there to protect omega-3 so that it has a much more longer prolong up to 6 times longer lifespan, so that it's able to function and be absorbed into our health, right? So polyphenol is fundamentally an antioxidant that prevents the omega-3 from oxidating, and oxidization equals being rancid, like oil being exposed to air, it gets oxidated, and oxidated, as I've said just now, causes it to be rancid. So this is an ingenious way of managing this oil while we consume, all right? So you see, inflammation, I was trying to say just now, is actually not a bad thing. The body processes, is the body process to fight harmful agents and chemicals and toxic. So the body is actually very smart. You see, sometimes when we have a foreign virus happening in our body, what actually happens is our body gets into a temperature, fever, or inflamed, swelling of its sorts. When it's swelling or inflamed, it's an indication that the body is actually fighting the abnormal condition in our health, right? So that abnormality actually is to overcome and to recover, to heal itself. But a prolonged state of inflammation is actually very, very bad to our health, right? So again, everything that happens, same like omega-6, that is a considerable amount is good, but excessive is no good. Same thing with inflammation. A mild inflammation is good, a mild fever is good, because the body is reacting, the system, the immune system is actually managing any of these foreign, unacceptable conditions that is happening to our health, and it's all good. But too much, too long of this sort of inflammation state is actually very, very bad. Now here you have two diagrams, one acute inflammation, which is something that you either get infected, as I've said, get chemical irritation, you get a cut, you get a burn, you get frostbite or allergic reaction. That's an acute inflammation. But when it comes to chronic conditions or chronic inflammation, these are now the nightmare that we're facing, which is cardiovascular diseases, neurological diseases, autoimmune, rheumatoid, cancer, lupus, chronic fatigue syndrome, and so on and so forth. These are all chronic inflammation. This is what we're trying to avoid. But guess what? Because of our lifestyle and our poor dietary lifestyle is actually causing this chronic inflammation, which then causes the chronic diseases. Now, makes sense, no? And what is chronic inflammation kind of the symptoms? Primarily is constant fatigue. This is what a lot of us get to see these days, right? People are tired after most of the time. Headache and brain fog, you feel like you're blur, a little bit like that. Digestive issues is one, weight gain is the other, right? Aches and pains, we're aching and hurting everywhere. And, we're not sleeping well. And because we're not sleeping well, so sometimes, our position is bad and we don't manage this kind of discomfort that very well. So these are all the underlying result of chronic inflammation. So a weakened immune system is definitely one. I'm sure most of you would have seen by now a lot of our friends over the recent years I personally have seen dozens of these people, maybe because I'm in the health industry, but most of them, I would say 4 out of 10 that people I come in contact with would have one way or the other been threatened by some sort of cancer issues, right? And let's not talk about the other 60%. I say maybe 70% of the other 60% of people will one way or the other have those chronic inflammatory conditions that I mentioned earlier, right? So what causes this inflammation? As we already said, all the stresses, a poor diet, lack of physical exercises, insufficient sleep. Sleep deprivation is also one of the outcomes of these sort of conditions. Obesity and hormonal imbalance, right? In Malaysia here, not a lot of people understand so much about hormones for the time being. The clinic that I have, we look at immune, nutrition, and hormones very hugely in our practice, because we understand hormonal balance actually contributes a lot towards the quality of your life. So that's very, very important. So what are the pro-inflammatory food that we've been talking about? Refined sugars and carbohydrates, right? So all the cordial drinks that we have, be it Coca-Cola, or even I recently gathered that even this carbonated sparkling water, a little bit with a flavor in it, with lemon flavor or lime flavor or whatever flavor that they adulterate it with, they're all laced with refined sugar, right? Flavoring is the other. Saturated fats, trans fats, gluten, dairy products, omega-6 fatty acids, excessive of that is the cause of this pro-inflammation state in our health. And preservative in most of the food. I say 90% of food that we pick up off the shelf comes in a bottle, in a package, in a packing, comes with preservatives. And let's not even talk about MSG. I know a lot of us says that we don't take MSG, but the rest of the food that we're taking are all part of that preservation that they've added into it. See how we are one way or the other constantly being bombarded with all kinds of bad ingredients in the food that we consume. So it starts from the animal that is being fed right through to how they process it. After the processed food, these are the kind of adulteration, the kind of ingredients they have in it that causes this pro-inflammation in our health, right? So why are pro-inflammatory food bad? Fundamentally, it disrupts integrity of our gut lining. That's very clear and very important for us to understand. Remember, there is this clear analogy that everything starts from the gut and should end in the gut. So our philosophy in the clinic and from our years of practices, we understand that whenever we need to treat someone, we treat them from the gut level, and we know that we resolve the gut issues. We can actually overcome most of the chronic diseases by putting in the right nutrient in this case here. So there's in-depth studies already done on that, right? So there are, the issues of being inflammation that impairs the absorption rate of nutrients. So it's unable to absorb the nutrient. It kills healthy gut flora. Again, everything starts from the gut, right? And the outcome of that is all this CVD, cardiovascular diseases that we see. And we see a lot of men and women, no exception, but I think most of the issues that we see, be it from diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, are all the outcome, if not the result of this inflammatory state, right? So now, this slides is to share with you omega-3, omega-6 fatty acids in a nutshell, right? A lot of people will put their hands up and say, look, I've been taking omega-3 oils, omega-6, omega-9. I buy it out of a can in a local pharmacy, and I'm covered. This tells you what omega-3 and 6 is all about, and the next couple of other omegas. But there is a secret underneath this. As I mentioned to you, the wonderful thing of what Zinzino has done ingeniously is to introduce polyphenol that protects the oil so that it's able to be prolonged, and at the same time is able to then function a lot more effectively within our system. So what does omega-3 do? Omega-3 controls blood clotting, builds cellular membrane in the brain. 60% of our brain is actually fat, right? So can you imagine if we've been consuming bad fat, right? Fatty acids like omega-6. So that's why we're getting this brain fog, and our brain function is compromised. So 60% of our brain is full of fat. So it's important that we get the right fat into our system. That's something to remember. And good omega-3 enhances brain, joints function, fat losses, would you believe it? And muscle building benefits in athletes, reduces risk of cancer, heart disease, and diabetes. And also it reduces inflammation, right? Omega-6 regulates brain functions. That's why I said good amount of omega-6 is good, but excessive, too much of it is the causing of the tipping between 6 and 3 omegas. So that's important. It regulates growth and development. It stimulates hair and skin growth, regulates metabolism, maintains healthy bones and reproductive system. it also increases inflammation. Understand this right now. Omega-3 reduces inflammation. Omega-6 actually increases inflammation. So there you go. Too much as it is right now, omega-6s causes inflammation, and definitely not enough of omega-3, then of course it gets out of balance. See, does it make sense to you now? Right? Omega-7 reduces inflammation and reduces insulin resistance. So that's good for sugar management, if you may. Omega-9 that you get out of the polyphenol olive reduces inflammation as well, improves joint health, and healing, prevents varieties of diseases. Now, so this is the combination of fatty acids in a nutshell that we're consuming. Let's not talk about the sources, because the sources are varied as we go. And the impact of being in balance would be, in this case here, when you have a out of balance state, you see increasing cardiovascular diseases, type 2 diabetes, obesity, metabolic syndrome, irritable bowel syndrome, muscular degeneration, autoimmune diseases, and so on and so forth, right? So most of these issues actually starts to present itself when you see yourself in an imbalance or out of balance kind of a state, which causes inflammation, right? So now moving on, I want to touch a little bit about cholesterol. Everyone talks about cholesterol, right? So there are the good cholesterol and the bad cholesterol, right? HDL is a good cholesterol, and also LDL is the bad cholesterol, right? What does a good cholesterol do? It transports cholesterol to the liver. It prevents arterial buildup. Hence, that's why when the beginning of this talk, I said we are offering a very, well, it's not expensive, 400 ringgit assessments to all our business partners as well as their customers, is so that they can actually look at the state of inflammation in their arteries to better understand what are the arterial buildup potentials. So lack of good cholesterol. It removes cholesterol from the bloodstream. So that's a good cholesterol. The bad cholesterol deposits cholesterol in the arteries, right? So if you have too much of bad cholesterol, that's where the problem starts. It causes arterial plaques, which is the deposits within your arteries. It may also cause heart attack and stroke. So we understand here right now that 47% of Malaysian population have high cholesterol, so high bad cholesterol. 17.6% of adults in Malaysian populations are obese, as I mentioned a lot earlier just now. So these are facts of matter. So understanding then what to do, later on I'll talk a little bit about what Zinzino Balance Oil has installed for us, okay? So moving forward, what I'd like to do is to share with you and giving you the key of optimum health by introducing you to Zinzino Balance Oil, right? And fundamentally, the Balance Oil protocol, it helps to restore cell membrane. So meaning it's working from the cellular level, allowing each individual cells to be much more turgid and much more softer and flexible. So it's able to let good nutrients to go in and the bad toxic to be flushed out. I have a diagram for that a little bit later. And the oil also allows us to facilitate this balance between 6 and 3 omegas within our system. And of course, as I mentioned, the great asset that Zinzino has is this. I think it's a unique formulation, and I'll show you by proving to you why it's so unique by comparison to all other brands in a moment. Okay, so Zinzino oil, in this case here, contributes towards optimum brain function. Now, I've actually got onto my second bottle right now. So I'm actually in my 45th day of consuming the Balance Oil. I find that my brain functions a lot sharper. I'm a lot more clearer in the way that I'm thinking. My normal heart function is actually at an optimal level, that I don't feel heavy and tired and lethargic towards the end of the evenings. My immune system, I think, is pretty good. So it fortifies the immune system, stronger bone health, and mood moderator. So these are the key benefits of what Zinzino oil can do for you. So basically, in the regime, in the protocol of Zinzino balance oil, it comes with a balance test. So the starting of the journey is to have a balance test done. And it's a very simple process. It's just two little minor pricks, one prick with two little drops of blood onto this blotter. It's a dry spot blood blotter that you drop the blood onto this piece of paper, and it's inserted into an airtight sealant bag, then shipped to Norway to be tested. Now, this is an independent laboratory assigned by Zinzino. Zinzino has no interest in the lab, so that all the tests are done unbiasedly, okay? So you start from there, and from there, you wait for 2 weeks, the results will be out to show you what are the imbalanced state, so how balanced you are between your omega-6 and omega-3. So that gives you a clear understanding of what are your mission about over a period of 120 days. So you really only consume the oil for a period of 120 days to see that shift within your omega-6 and omega-3 out of balance, so that you are able to then further determine what's the next course of action to take, right? So most of us have been taking a lot of supplements in the past, and they don't know where they start, and they definitely don't know when they are ending. So that's a little bit disturbing for a discerning customers, I'm sure, right? So within this test that you've done out of this balance test, this dry spot blood test, when you get your results back, it tells you omega-6 and 3 balance values, your protection value, your omega-3 index, your mental strength index, your membrane fluidity index, that's very important, and your your AA formation efficiency, right? So here you see my result that I've gotten about a month ago was totally out of balance. I'm 23.5 to 1, and I thought I was eating very healthily, but so not. But at least my mental health is moderate, and the rest of my indexes are so sad. So that's not so very good. So I hope to see my results again in quite a few weeks to come. Now, these tests are not something that is plucked out of the sky. They've been doing this for thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people already across the world. So this is a very smart, groundbreaking approach. And this slide here shows the laboratory in Norway that Zinzino sends this blood to independently. So this independent laboratory in Oslo are frequently in association with a wide array of different universities across Europe. You wait for 14 days, the result comes out, as I mentioned just now, and during that period of time, you would be already consuming your balanced oil. Your balanced oil is consumed by way of personalized fashion, in a sense that not one size fits all. I'm sure a lot of us have been one way or the other been consuming a lot of supplements in the past. So can you imagine some company says, hey, take 2-3 times a day for as long as you should be taking this. But you are a different size. You're 50 kilos. Someone is 65 kilos. A kid is maybe 35 kilos. And your husband or a man in the family could be 80, 90 kilos. But how could it possibly be that everyone is taking this one size, meaning 2 capsules 3 times a day for as long as possible? It doesn't make sense, right? So in this case here, the balanced oil is consumed according to your body weight. So you take your weight, multiply by 0.15, gives you the amount in milliliter, ml, that you should be taking. So 5 milliliter is 1 teaspoon, the one that you use for your coffee, that's 5 milliliter. So a lot of us by average is taking between 8 to 12 or 13 milliliters, so which means that it's 2 or 3 teaspoons that we're consuming. So that's not so difficult. But the oil also comes with a measuring cup, so to allow you to understand how to actually consume it accurately. But again, as what I always tell a lot of people, having a little bit extra doesn't kill you. So having a little bit less too doesn't kill you either. But what we want to do is to strive towards the 120 days goal so that you can be flipped over, and your ratio, out of balance ratio, can be drastically reduced, right? Now, on this note, I should also tell you that 95% of people consuming the balanced oil sees no less than 60% improvement, as what the data has been showing. So that's a pretty good result as far as I'm concerned. I'm sure you will agree with me too. So what is in the balanced oil, the Zinzino balanced oil? It's primarily based on omega-3, and omega-3 are extracted from sardine and anchovies, and these small little fishes, so they don't harvest it from large fishes simply because they get contaminated by the ocean environment, where most land waste are being discharged into the ocean these days, right? So a lot of all these bigger fish are laced with a lot of toxicity. So mercury, heavy metals toxicity is just one of them. So they selected small fishes from sardine and anchovies to harvest the purest omega-3 oil from these little animals. So Zinzino balanced oil contains polyphenol, as I was talking about just now, and the polyphenol allows the omega oil to boost digestion and brain health, reduces inflammation. It's a very strong antioxidant that prevents the omega-3 from going rancid or oxidated. So therefore, allowing performance to be ensured through almost 6 times of comparison with other oils out there. It lowers risk of heart diseases, and it also manages blood sugar, amongst other great conditions such as blood clotting and so on and so forth, right? So the Zinzino balanced oil also comes with 2 minerals, extra minerals. That's vitamin D3, something that most Asians are depleted of these days. And vitamin D is the underlying minerals to support an optimal level of immune system. So that's important, right? And then of course you have your vitamin DE, sorry, I beg your pardon, within that. Now, I'd like to introduce here a little bit of that polyphenol that I talked so much about, simply because it is a unique selling point, a USP of the omega-3 oil by Zinzino, balanced oil, right? So as I mentioned earlier, again, I repeat, it's a pre-harvested olive, cold pressed, so it's extra virgin olive oil. In this case, they are better known as polyphenol, and it's the supporting framework of the omega-3 oil so that it can perform a lot better, all right? So let's not go into this again. Now, this table is very, very interesting. My team has gone out to a local pharmacy here and picked up at random various different omega oils that is sold out there. And I can happily and proudly share with you out of this Blackmore, BioLife, Cordell, Pristine, even Life Extension from the US. By comparison to Zinzino balanced oil, none of them comes with the supported polyphenol oil that I have been talking about this evening. In fact, most of them don't even have the combination of vitamin D, let alone other minerals with it. So this clearly states that the balanced oil by Zinzino is very unique by itself. Now, this chart here is very interesting, right? This shows that, I'll start off from the right graph, that shows the minimum 6 times longer lifespan of the balanced oil by Zinzino compared to cod liver oil, which is 15 hours, concentrated omega-3 oil in just 9 hours by comparison, and krill oil 5 hours in the state of its integrity, if I may use that description, right? So polyphenol combined allows the omega-3 oil to be able to perform a lot better, a lot longer within our system. So that's the great advantage of this. So again, here I have a summary of the oil. It is polyphenol, omega-3, that covers EPA, DHA, DPA from wild fishes. You have to understand that. Remember the small anchovies and sardines that they have harvested the oil from are mercury free, so toxic free, if you may. And it's also laced with vitamin D3 and vitamin E out of this particular bottle here. And the dosage by weight, so as I said to you just now, is personalized to individual one of us, and there is hence no oxidation because of the polyphenol, and it comes with original flavor of orange lemon mint, which is the most popular flavor of them all out there. So who consumes this? So we have known from the founders of Zinzino that their pregnant wife, which is the wife of the founder, during pregnancy has been consuming also the balanced oil to facilitate brain function or brain growth. It promotes, remember, good cells promotes optimal growth, right? It makes good sense. So children from the age of 6 months old are also being given the balanced oil, albeit that the dosage has got to be different. So please ask us when you have a baby, an infant that you want to share the balanced oil with. So please check with us so that we can give you the right advice. Now, throughout child birth right through to adolescence to young adults, where their entire system is being developed. So this is the most important phase of their life, right? So when a kid, whatever, 3, 4, 5, right through to 10 years old, that's the time that you need to help them to develop their brain functions the most, let alone the rest of their immune system. So this is very important, and balanced oil helps children to have a better brain development. As they go into young adulthood, reproductive systems needs a lot of support. As I mentioned just now, due to the poor impact these days, male, female, our hormone level, reproductive hormone level is compromised to a very low level. So these balanced oil help to optimize, to facilitate a much more effective reproductive expectation or reproductive life that they are actually looking at. And right through into the years, into 50s, as we see more chronic diseases or much more degenerative diseases that visits us, like our bone wearing out, our skin, our hair, and so on and so forth. Balanced oil is fundamentally the most optimal solution to help provide a optimal healthy lifestyle, right? So that's how it's helping people. And the benefits of this particular oil improves hair health, reduces inflammation. That's very, very important. If there's anything to take away from this at all is the ensuring of reduction in inflammation or state of inflammation within our system. That is the most important causes. So you have chronic diseases, you have to caused by chronic inflammation, and it comes from a out of proportion omega-6 and 3. So if you look it backwards, is to solve the problem there so that you will minimize or eliminate chronic inflammation that would of course hugely reduce chronic diseases out there. It improves a risk factor for heart diseases, improves eyesight, fatigue and depression. People are depressed much more these days. This all also helps. And of course, it optimizes sleep quality and reduces symptoms of metabolic syndrome, which is obesity and being out of weight, right? So how long to take this? The balance oil for 120 days. Just a simple, very easy 120 days equals to 4 months. You consume this oil according to your body weight, kind of a calculation, and that will see a massive shift in your state of well-being, okay? So then what does it take? Why does it take 120 days? As most of you know, our entire body is full or filled with trillions of stem cells, right? So this oil works from the cellular level. On a healthy person, we look at, optimized brain function, great hair quality, heart function, skin, inner organs are supposed to be functioning, and our mobility, our flexibility in our joint health should be very healthy. And in this case here, for a healthy person, you see that a normal cell is soft and flexible, allowing great nutrients to come in and also toxicity to go out. So you look at this, the brain, sorry, I beg your pardon, the cell membrane wall around it is so perfect and so nice, right? But when we are inflamed, what actually happens here, the cell function is reduced, it becomes hard and rigid, so it's not soft and it's not turgid, hence obstructing good nutrients from coming in and definitely not allowing any toxicity to be flushed out. And that causes inflammation. Now, can you imagine trillions of your cells are in this state? And that's why when you touch someone's body, they feel pain and they have all kinds of internal organs, kind of chronic diseases. That's what it is all about. Now, our body is constantly changing and growing and regenerating, right? So here you have liver that rebuilds every 6 weeks, our skin once every year. So sometimes when you do dry skin brushing, you see that there's a lot of skin being regenerated. Our brain rebuilds itself in once every year. Can you believe it? DNA every 2 months and stomach lining every 5 days, right? So why 120 days is because the blood rebuilds itself in every 120 days. So therefore, allowing your blood system to be completely replenished and replenished with the right omega oil. So we can reverse you or bring you back to an optimal level within 120 days, if not at least the right direction, or bringing you to an optimal health, state of optimum health, okay? So that's everything about omega oil. So I hope you follow me by now, and I'm mindful of the time. So this is closing to an hour. So now moving on, the last product of Zinzino is this fabulous skin serum that they have introduced. Now in Malaysia right now, we're in the pre-launch phase. So you have only access to 3 products, and that being the test, the balance test, balance oil, and the skin serum. This is now another breakthrough that I find that Zinzino has introduced, is a spectacular skin serum that is fundamentally to reduce lines and also wrinkles, blemish, stains. Excuse me, if I will have a little sip of water. And it also allows the skin to be a lot more elastic. So it actually has got 3 strategies. It protects, it repairs, and rebuilds our skin. I won't go too much into details of the functions of this, but it actually looks at the extracellular matrix. It actually repairs it from inside to the center to the outer. So it's actually very clever science behind it, and the unique ingredients that I have is actually, again, back to polyphenol. So to say that Zinzino is a omega-3 company, yes, but I think the secret that they have under the belt is polyphenol, the pre-harvested olive essence or oil that they have masterminded that combines with, in this case here, no omega-3 for the skin, but they have been using the olive polyphenol as the active agent in conjunction with the rest of the beta-glucan science that they have actually introduced, right? So this is a very effective. We have seen some great results out of our customers and associates across the region. So this is a product that I'd like to share with you. So this is the skin serum. And now you have, remember that they have a great balance oil. And also you are now never to let your health be a mystery. So how many of us on sitting at home, we wonder that very puzzling mind that we have on how we are to manage our health in an optimal level. So here it is so convenient for you that you can actually do it from the comfort of your home. That you can do a little simple test, you send away, or we help you to send away to Norway. And in 2 weeks' time, your result comes back to tell you how disproportionate you are. while you're actually consuming a personalized dosage of the oil before you do another test 120 days to see your great improvement. Remember, 95% of people see no less than 60% changes in their health status after 120 days. So that, I think, is a phenomenal, if not a spectacular shift, right? So on that note, I thank you all to be so patient. I think we just managed 1 hour on this chat, and I'm going to open up the floor for any questions. So thank you very much. So I'm going to stop sharing so I can see everyone. Hi. Okay. So is there any questions, ladies and gentlemen? Hello. Guys, I see most of us are business partners here with maybe 1 or 2 customers. Can I suggest that we try to do the weekend as we shifted it today, and also able to come in.